All stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Nikki Bender. Here. Melinda Cook. Here. Kathy Aldency. Here. Patrick Sellers.
Here.
Joyce Sellers is on her way. So we have a quorum.
Okay. The first order of business is the approval of minutes for July 17th, 2017. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Bender, second by Alderson. Please take a look at the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The next order of business is approval of bills payable. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Alderson, second by Bender. Please take a look at the bills payable.
I questioned Cindy on Deb's. She was at the Northern Conference. She turned in a bill for about $5.45. I expect to see that from you guys when you're gone.
Okay.
Oh, I did have a question.
Mhm.
The creating a new email account for
Uh-huh.
$85.
That is the fee for the services to come in, and it's not as simple as what we do for our own personal, because it's a network. It had to be handled through Spigot, who's our provider for maintenance and IT. So that's basically an hour's time to do that.
Any more questions on claims and demands?
No.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cook.
Yes.
Aldency. Aye. Bender.
Aye.
Sellers.
Aye.
Motion passed.
The next order of business, supervisor report. We received a lot of phone calls due to the flooding. And it was, people were given our phone number by the city to call us to answer questions, and we answer them to the best of our ability. We connected a lot of people to different resources, like to the emergency services. They help with the city in the county, I'm sorry, in situations like this, and they gave us some phone numbers to reach out and to give to people who are calling in. We had a lot of phone calls, and I mean a whole lot. I believe things are settling down now. Now it's the cleanup phase. We're going to reach out to the city and see if we can be of service to help with the cleanup efforts. So,
As far as maybe putting some clients.
yes.
Good.
I was curious, that was one of my questions. Is there any other role in terms of general assistance that township ever has in emergency response?
No, we didn't. We don't do emergency assistance. So our role in this last emergency was to be a hub for resources. So when someone calls in, we can direct them to the right agency to help them.
Didn't Stevenson County declared a disaster, so FEMA should be coming in soon?
Yes. I will be, my plan is to talk with the city manager to help out with the city's emergency plan, which, yeah, so we're going to help out with the emergency plan for the city.
Does the city have an emergency plan?
No. No.
I heard from quite a few people that never had water in basement. It was like seeping
Yes.
out of the ground
Mhm.
into the basement.
The east side, like, has just become passable
Yes.
in the past 2 days,
Okay.
really. Like, it's been complete, all, that whole area, like, you know, on this, north
Mhm.
east side of the river has been completely underwater, like Hancock Road. And I mean, a lot of people seem to think it was fine once you could get through on Stevenson, but like those blocks were, Henderson
Yeah.
just came
Van Buren.
for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was slow to recede.
Yes.
There was a lot more help this year than ever before.
Mhm.
A lot more supplies brought into the city to help people. I
Because
mean,
we
it
went
was
through,
like
what, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
five
Yeah.
different
Almost
places
to
that
the
were
day.
helping them.
This
Mhm.
is the third time
So
since
this is-
2007 that Pearl City has been
Yeah.
underwater.
And they say there's no climate change.
I think this was probably one of the worst ones we've had too. People who never got water before did get it this time.
And it's nice because you were able to go and give proof of your address and get some cleaning supplies and
Right.
whatever you needed. And before, it's like they ran out just like that.
Well, I've been in contact with the health department about providing tetanus shots
Oh, yes.
because there were a lot of people wading through that water to get places, and I was given an answer that I don't like. I didn't like it at all. That they're not going to provide tetanus shots because it costs too much. It's $45 per shot, and people over there, you know, they may not have any insurance to cover it. That's not a good enough
And
answer.
that is, yeah.
Not $45 a
That's-
person, that's not that
It's not
expensive.
good enough answer, so-
Not to some shot, like a lot of other shots. though.
Right.
Exactly.
So we'll be working closely with the health department and with the city in order to see if we can get something to get that taken care of, because that's very important. I was looking on Facebook and there were kids out playing in this water. This water's coming out of sewer, so this water's not clean
And standing for 2
and
weeks.
standing for 2 weeks.
And the
So,
mosquitoes were horrible.
right,
And the smell,
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
right, the smell now, and we got calls about that, about the smell. And what can we do?
I'm worried about people
Yes.
breathing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can they get a grant to do this or apply for FEMA money
You
to
know
do
what,
that?
Bart, let me tell you something. Here's my plan, and I normally don't get my plans too quickly, but I'm gonna give you
It's
a
a
thought.
disaster area.
I believe that every taxing body should allocate money for something like this, because it's gonna happen again. We shouldn't be caught how we are right now. I mean, waiting on FEMA. We should have some money
Who
available
knows
now
when
to
they'll
help
get
people
here?
now.
Who knows?
It's a disaster area, so
Right.
FEMA would be here.
But if you don't know when they're coming.
Right.
And these kids could be totally sick by
Right.
now.
So-
They're taking names now.
So, yeah, but that's part of the thing I would like to propose to the city. If we can do that, I think that would be great.
Right.
Okay. All right. Next order of business is the assessor's report. Assessor?
Well, I'll tag on to that, is shortly within a day, two office, Maida, the assessor-elect, and another staff went out to specific areas where we knew they had been hit before. And we're fortunate the one area it did not encroach on their, they bagged, but they never got it in their basements. And in another area they did. And like Nikki was saying, we're getting notification of areas that are not typical.
Right down the
They're
street from us.
high up, and yet the basements got flooded. They lost their furnaces, water heaters, and anything else that was down there. This individual had a floating freezer. So, you know, we've had people call, we've had people come in, and depending on exactly, you know, a furnace, unfortunately, that type of stuff is going to get replaced. The problem is damage to the foundation and/or, anything of that nature. And that's the part we have to watch for because it would impact.
And a lot of insurances won't cover because they
Well,
don't have flood
yeah.
coverage. That's why FEMA's gonna have to come in.
But you can have some pump insurance. We had it when we
Yeah,
were down
you gotta
in
have that
City.
as a rider on your home
That's-
insurance though.
$5,000, which doesn't touch much of anything. It
Mhm.
might cost $100 a year.
Cindy, did you say you had 2 staff people that went out to assist in those areas?
They actually went out physically. They were out for 4 hours. They could not get across the bridge and get into the east side.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
But yeah, they were out and went basically door to door in the areas where we had experienced it previous.
When I had to go to South Bend, Freeport's got 5 in ways of getting in here, and only 1 was accessible. That's how bad it was.
Yeah. So, that's all I have.
Okay. The next order of business is trustees report. Trustees.
Nothing.
Melinda, I know you have something.
Well, I have a million questions about flooding and like what we could do, but I went to the training last week before for township officials, and there was a couple things that I was curious how I would find out about. A lot of my questions, the response was like, well, there's specific laws in specific townships, but I wanted to know how could I, and then they kept talking about how there's like a book that I can pay for to get the actual township rules of Illinois. I'm curious if I can get access to that without paying, and how they're not constituents, what are they called, electors?
Township, they're electors, but they're constituents.
Can they, how they can access that freely? And then secondarily, what are I'd like a comprehensive list of Freeport Township specific, because isn't it that we would have the basic rules of township is what's in that township book? And then anything that is different about our township, how is that?
That would be our GA manual.
That's all that? I was reading that as like, I haven't obviously read
That would be
the
our GA manual.
But isn't that mostly about how the rules of how to get general assistance? I mean, our townships, like not just the general assistance, but all of the rules around that.
So you want all the
Is
laws and...
general assistance
so you
manual
want-
about how to get, because I was looking at the contents, looking for just information, because I will be honest, I haven't read that cover to cover. Be real interested if any of you have.
Some of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't pertain to me.
Yeah, because I want to be informed.
So you want to know the general rule of...
Well, okay, so just it seems like are they laws or
Yes.
what are the specifics and how would I know them?
The-
So that I don't have to ask them questions.
The name of the book that you're asking about is the Laws and Duties Handbook.
That's
The one they're talking about,
Yeah.
and they want you to pay for it, you don't have to pay for it, we got it at the office. If you want to look at it, you can look at it, it's no problem. But that gives you the basis of what townships do. Am I correct, Mike?
Correct.
We don't vary too much from those, that
Well,
fly.
just now, I figured.
We don't vary from those laws at all, we can't.
I guess like they just made it sound like there's all these ways that each individual township can, how they define their role. Because the role of a township in one place might be very different
Okay.
than the role of a township in another place.
Okay.
And what I was led to believe is that over time, each township has made their own sort of rules of jurisdiction or what they do. That's why we don't have the road commissioner, whereas other places do. And so that's not the stuff in the general assistance handbook, right? That's not the Freeport specific rules,
Mike?
right?
Well, there are no Freeport-specific statutes
Right.
that I'm out there that apply, that the Illinois General Assembly passed, they would apply only to us. If there's one, but what we do have is we have ordinances and resolutions.
That's what I
Yes, I thought that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
But you gotta understand that anytime we want to pass an ordinance or resolution, we've got to look at the state statute and say, since we're not a home rule entity like the city is, where does it say in state statute that we have this authority? So when you look at my resolutions, you'll see I always cite where does it say in state statute that we can do this?
Yeah.
And then we choose how to implement it as long as it doesn't violate it. And we have ordinances, which are permanent forms of law that are in effect until changed or repealed. And then we have resolutions. And resolutions are normally used for short-term matters, to approve contracts and to state what our policy is. The permanent form of law that the counties and townships and cities pass are called ordinances. And we do not have a book like the city of Freeport does with all their ordinances in it, but we do have them sitting together in a 3-ring binder.
What I
Or
can do.
several 3-ring binders.
Yeah.
What I can do is email you the ones that I have that we've done since I've been here, the ordinances, because I have them in the computer.
All right.
And that way you can print them out and look at them and see what they are. The use of the appropriation ordinance is always done every year. There's, because of the budget, that has to do with the budget. But there aren't very many ordinances, there's more
Yeah,
resolutions.
that's what you're gonna find, very, very few.
But
And they're the same ones every year.
Make a bunch.
Depends upon the
Sure,
township.
Right,
absolutely.
you could.
Look at the statutes,
do many.
townships can do a lot of different things.
Yeah,
if
that's
they
what I was
choose.
gathering.
Right. If they choose to do it, they can. And obviously, you have to have the money to do it, but that's when you look at one of the things that these township laws and duties will give you a list of what the powers
Yeah.
of townships are and what we can elect to do. Now, as opposed to what we actually, over the last 100 years, the town boards have elected to do, those would be reflected in the actual ordinances. And you get the list of what we can do as opposed to what we do is long list of what you can do, short list of what we do.
Okay.
I mean, but then if you look at a township from Cook County, like I deal with a whole bunch of Cook County township attorneys, they have college scholarship programs. Of course, they have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars of assessed valuation. So they got a lot more money coming in to their townships than we do. And they choose to elect different programs. You can have
Like arts programs and stuff, and
Could be.
scholarships and.
scholarships. You could also have a food pantry, which is a big one for a lot of the wealthier townships. Because even a wealthy township will have people who are in need of
Some of them
that.
have clinics, medical clinics too.
Yeah, Alsip does.
Yes.
Has a-
So again, you're talking about Chicago suburbs that have millions and millions of dollars of assessed valuation.
I was trying to search this and I couldn't really glean the information I was looking for, but is the actual city of Chicago governed by any township?
No,
No.
Just the suburbs and everywhere else in Illinois?
there are no townships, as far as I know, inside the borders of the city of Chicago. But in the suburbs, all around it, there's lots of townships.
Yeah.
Why?
1,700
The city's special.
Nah, I
The
don't
city of Chicago is
But
special.
Rockford has a township.
Rockford is the largest township in the state of Illinois.
What you'll notice in the Laws and Duties Handbook, you'll read things and it'll say excluding the city of Chicago.
Exactly.
I
A
know
lot
that
of
the
statutes say
pension
that.
fund is
Yes.
different.
They have to pay their own pension,
Yeah.
whereas the rest of the state, their pension programs are paid by state taxpayers. Chicago taxpayers have to pay the rest of the state's pension plan and a separate tax for their own teachers, which is one of the big disputes
And that's a
with the
big
governor right
discussion,
now,
right.
and the school funding.
And their property valuation is different than the rest of us.
Oh, yeah, they get assessed at 1/6,
Right.
whereas we're assessed at 1/3.
Oh, yeah, because my sister-in-law has a very nice home and pays not proportionally the same amount of taxes.
Of course, they have
Well, to live in
gigantic
small
The
town.
industries
the
with-
base is the difference there, probably even more so.
Well, they also have an industrial base,
Right.
which is billions of dollars
Yes.
of industries we don't have.
Yeah.
And you want me to
Yeah, I
email
just-
you some ordinances, the
Yeah.
ordinances that I can? And,
Why don't you email the list of ordinances to begin with, because you don't want to need 16 copies of the same appropriation ordinance. with 16
no,
different
I'll
names on
just
it.
send her the recent ones for appropriation, because the other ones are outdated.
Yeah,
There's really very few, maybe 10 at the most.
and if you give it the index to resolutions, that might give you an idea
Yeah.
of some things we have done too.
Okay.
Okay.
We were making do we have a complete backdate, the complete go backwards on our resolution index and our ordinance index? Did we? Okay.
Yeah, I think the resolutions, so maybe the last 2 or 3 I don't have on there, but
How far back does it go, how many years?
I think I went back as far as what I could, in the 80s,
Okay.
I think.
I asked her to do that, I wanted a complete set, so we had some idea.
Township in Freeport has only existed since the 70s?
No, not that I know, it's been here 100 years probably.
Yeah,
Way back.
since Illinois. Townships used to be the form of government before cities and counties.
Oh, and what was, there was the word you said, unlike, a type of government unlike you.
City of Freeport is home rule. Home rule, and home rule in Illinois is different than home rule in Indiana, so it's hard to look at laws from a different state. In Illinois, a home rule entity like the City of Freeport can disregard state statute. They can pass their own ordinances contrary to state statute, except in areas where they've been explicitly prohibited or when the regulation is so extensive, like the Commerce Commission, it would be, but that's why the City of Freeport can. They don't have to look in the state statutes for authority to do things. They have the authority because they're home rule. They're co-equal with state government, except in those very few areas that they've been excluded or preempted by extensive regulation. Keep it over there.
It's your turn. It's you guys' turn over there to have a fly. Any more questions? Okay. Now, the next order of business is public comments. Anyone from? Yes.
Stand here,
Where's the
up to
star
that
at?
chair.
Toward this chair, there stays.
Right here?
You can see his name, but it's not
Yeah,
his address.
just your name, you have to state your address if you don't like to.
Okay, Steve Carroll, Freeport, whatever. Jeez, Pat.
I know, this fly is all over the place.
Last week, I was in Pat's office when he heard from the Stevens County Health and how they're not going to give out tetanus shot because it costs too much. And I shot off an email a little crow about that and wanted to know, does the city have a plan for the next disaster? And what about tetanus shot? They did it 7 years ago, and this is desperately needed. And Lowell he's been pretty decent to me, and I don't know why, but
I've heard about you.
yeah, thanks. But anyway, he said they're working on a plan, and they're working on the shots. I was in his office today on another issue, which I might talk about at a future date, but he said, yeah, you're right, we didn't have a plan. 30 years in the Navy, I know about plans for disaster. We didn't have one. And then he said, we're going to get the tetanus shots. Should have been done 2 weeks ago. But anyway, and I don't know why the city does not want to partner more with Township. That needs to be addressed because there's resources Township has and can help for little or no cost. But anyway, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comments?
And one point that should be made, that so it's clear, that every community in this county has approved a hazard mitigation plan. It's not an emergency plan, but the hazard mitigation plan has been worked through by ASDA. I'm the attorney for other communities, and they've approved it. And I know the city of Freeport had approved it when I was their attorney. So how that relates to an emergency plan, I'm not sure, but there is something out there called a hazard mitigation plan, which they're required to have by law. So that would be the first step to look at that.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other business coming before the town?
Yes.
Yes.
Cindy is going to act in my place on November 6th while I will be in Australia. So I just wanted the board to know so they can authorize that.
You taking that fly with you? Now there's 2 flies in here.
Oh my God, they're big ones.
Oh, there's one.
Sad, sad.
Yeah, I know. Anything else?
No,
Bob?
that's all I have.
Okay.
Just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay, now entertain a motion to adjourn till Monday, August 21st, 2017 at 5:30.
So moved.
All in
Who
favor?
said that?
Second.
Oh,
Oh, Bender?
Linda?
And then
Second,
all-
Baldwin, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.